Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, good morning to you guys. Let's go over some details because, there's always somebody in the dark who doesn't know what's going on. So let's go over that, right? So let's take a look. You guys are calculus. So if I said, can you guys integrate? If I said to you, here's 3x minus 4 to the 10th power dx. Okay? And you say, well, what in the world is this? Well, I don't want you guys to, and this is, by the way, an indefinite integral, so we'll do that. But what you don't want to do is take that function and use FOIL like 10 times. You guys know what I mean? You don't want to expand that at all. So I did something very, very extreme to some degree to illustrate a point here. Okay? Now, when you look back in that worksheet here, I want you guys to know one very important thing here. You're really integrating the composition of functions. That's what this is. This is what? A composition of functions. Just like you had a chain rule. You guys remember that? You had chain rule. You've had that before, chain rule. You had chain rule. You had differentiation of composition of functions. Now, I want you guys to go back and remember what we did before. Always identify the inside function. Right? You say, what do you mean, the inside function? You see this G in the composition of functions? That is your what? The inside function. So when you say, what is the inside function here? What would you guys say the inside function is? The inside function is a function that's between the parentheses. What is between the parentheses? Do you guys see what's between the parentheses? It's going to be what? 3x minus 4. You guys okay with that? Just like in chain rule. Just like chain rule, you find the inside function. Now that is u. So this is really called substitution. It's really called u sub. So this is the u sub procedure, and it's integration by u sub. All right, so you might say, do I start off by saying, what is u here? Yes. U here is going to be what? 3x minus 4. Okay, you guys okay with that? That's our u. So if I go look at that worksheet I downloaded for you guys, I said, okay, take a look at this. See this? I'm really going with what I described for you in step 1. Your u, just like for chain rule, would be that inside function g. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to follow this process now. You say, well, what's the process? Step 1, you find the inside function, call it u. Step 2, you determine what? Du dx. Okay? Find du dx. Step 2. So I'll give you guys the full steps here. So, okay. Here's what that means. Here's step 1. Here's step 2. Du dx will be what? You differentiate u with respect to x. Could you guys tell me what the derivative is? What's this derivative? Isn't that 3? Okay, you guys okay with that? Is that easy peasy lemon squeezy? All right, so it's 3. Now, look at this really as a proportion. So when I go back to that worksheet, you say, okay, you're now at step number what? 3. What does step 3 say? Solve for what? Dx. So you say solve for dx? Yes. Step 3. So you have those procedures. You have that video. You have a couple of them. So step 3, you solve for dx. Now you go, well, how do I solve for dx here? Well, what you guys see here is a what? What is this known as? This is a proportion here, okay? It's a proportion. How do you solve for a proportion? Don't you cross multiply? You guys remember what I'm talking about? So, like if you had A over B is C over what? D, okay? When you cross multiply, what do you guys end up getting? I get this what? AD equals what? BC. So in this example, what does this mean? You guys know what this means? This will mean what? Du times 1 is going to be what? 3 dx. Is that right? And you're solving again for what? Dx. So what do you guys do with this now? Divide both sides by what? 3. And what do you end up with? Du over 3 is what? Dx. Okay. So far, so good. Just a little. It's a procedure. How do you guys master procedure? Practice. You want to get good at anything? Practice. You guys, if you do this, you can do it in your sleep. When I look at these, I'm actually asleep. But at one point, I had to practice, and you practice. Step 4, the next step, right? Step 4 is actually the substitution step. So it's a substitute. That is what you do. You're now gonna substitute. And you say, substitute what? Well, go back. What was the original question here? See this here? Copy. Now, I'm going to change this on you guys, okay? I apologize. I'm going to give you guys a definite integral because I've decided, let me go through the complete what? Process. Okay? I'm going to share with you guys the complete process. It'll be a definite integral. Okay, whatever. And you go, well, how do I substitute? Well, what did you guys just get? You know u is what? 3x minus 4. Is that true? And what else did you guys just find? You just found this. What is this? What is dx? Du over 3. Okay? This is the information you guys use to do what? To substitute. You go, really? It's very simple now. Let me show you guys what I mean by that, right? You have an integral. This is u to the what? 10th power. How do I know? instead of 3x minus 4 to the 10th power, what did you say u had to be? U is what? 3x minus 4. Doesn't that now mean you got u to the 10th power if I substitute? Is that true? What do they title this? U sub. Now you guys know why they gave it the title U sub. What's the last little piece you got to substitute? Or the second to the last. What is dx? You guys know what dx is? Du over what? Over 3. You're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. You're almost there. What do you guys know about that 3? Isn't that a constant? You know what this equals? I can pull out the constant by my properties, okay? Can I pull out that 3? Isn't that 3 a denominator? So it's now 1/3. And so if he said to me, hey, Mr. Judge, is that all I got to do to convert this? And I'll say, well, if this was an indefinite integral, the answer is yes. But I changed it on you. You say, what did you do? Well, I gave you some limits so I can give you a complete example. Meaning, this is x going from 0 to x going from what? 1. Are you guys okay with that? That's in terms of x. How do I change this in terms of u? Because I think I've been using some colors. I might have to just change the color format. 0 is, the lower limit is green today, and the upper limit is orange. So here's what I want you guys to see. I got to also change my what? My limits. My lower limit and my what? Upper limit. I have to convert them from x to what? To u. So keep an eye. X to what? U. Oh, I guess it's down here. So how do I do that? Do you guys know? How do you guys think I really do that? How can I get a u value if I know x is 0 and x is 1? You know what I do? I go right here. When x is 0, could you guys tell me what u becomes? What's 3 times 0 minus 4? Isn't that negative 4? So u is going to be what? Negative 4. Well, what happens in the case when x is 1? Well, plug that in. This is now 3 minus 1, which is what? Isn't that negative 1, ladies and gentlemen? So here's my point to you guys. You also have to convert the limits. And so what we just did, believe it or not, is u substitution. This integral now is really going to be 1/3. You integrate from negative 4 to negative 1, u to the 10th power du. There it is. You integrate in terms of the variable u now. It's no longer in terms of x. But it is equivalent, because notice we have this equal, right? Every step of the way. You notice I put what here? I put equal. So you have equal here, and then what? Equal here and equal here. And now all you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is find the antiderivative or the power rule for this integral. And that's it. So ladies and gentlemen, what happens now? Isn't this 1 over 11 u to the 11th power? Negative 4 to negative 1? Don't forget your constant of what? 1/3. Don't forget that 1/3 out here. So you're really going to have what? 1 over 33 u to the 11th from u being equal to -4 to u being -1. So you just found f of what? Big F of u. So if you can evaluate the following. Oops. You see better this way. Okay, so you say, well, what do I get now? This will be what? 1 over 33 -1 to the 11th minus 1 over 33 -4 to the 11th power. And it looks like this is going to be, if I have to focus on this -1 to the 11th, right? Well, -1 over 33, and then this is minus what? What's -4 to the 11th? Do you guys know? What's -4 to the 11th? I have to go out to the TI. I'm not going to do the arithmetic. -4 raised to the 11th. Ooh, I don't know what that is. It's negative what? 4194304 over 33. Is that true? So minus and minus makes that now a plus. So you get 4194304 over what? 33 now, minus 1 over 33. Do the arithmetic, and you get what? 4194303 over what? 33. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes. And I guess it's because you have a high degree polynomial. Yeah, we're about right here. All right. And that's a full demonstration of USUP. That's the full demonstration. So and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think? You guys got that there? Sorry. There you go. Okay. Let's give you guys another example. But this time I'm going to give you what? I'm going to give you the indefinite integral. So you guys have seen how to handle limits, but okay. All right. You guys want to try this example here? Because I don't want to give you the examples I already did on that worksheet and on those videos. I'm going to make up other examples. So let's do U sub. Now remember, if you look at this again, you say, is that really 1 minus what? 2x to the 1/2, right? What is your inside function again? What is u? Whatever is between those parentheses. Is that right? So you're going to let u be 1 minus 2x. Okay, you guys okay with that? You couldn't integrate without u sub. So there's your first step again. Okay, so what is the second step again? Find du with respect to x. And what's that derivative going to be? Do you guys know what that is? Is that negative 2? And you write it as a what? You write it there as a proportion. Now, what do you guys do here? You cross multiply, right? You have to solve for dx. So there you go. Solve for dx. Now, step 3, you say, what is that going to be? Well, du will be what? Negative 2 dx. Divide both sides now by what? Negative 2. Dx will be du over negative 2. You know what your fourth step is? What do you do now? You just what? You substitute. What does this integral become? U to the 1/2 du over negative what? 2. Okay, is that right? Because you have what? Dx, and that's du over negative 2. Here's that dx. Okay, you guys see my point? Isn't this now a nice, easier integral to perform? Isn't that easier? Okay, what do you do with that constant then? Pull out the constant. This is negative 1/2, and you integrate u to the what? 1/2 du. So you're going to integrate right in here. You get now u to the what? 3/2 over 3/2. And yes, technically you have that c, but make sure you write 1/2 now, 2/3, u to the 3/2, and then you could just put the plus c out here again, okay? It's going to be plus a constant. So if you wanted, just always add that plus c at the very end. But make sure you do your arithmetic, because this is now going to be what? Negative 1/3 u to the 3/2 plus c. However, be very careful, because you're not done. I'm going to put that in red. You're not done. Does anybody know why you're not done? Well, there's actually a few reasons. Just want to point out at this point. You might want to simplify that, right? You might want to say, is that really 1/3 u times u to the 1/2 plus c? If I simplify that rational exponent, it is, but you're still not done. Does anybody know why you're still not done? Why might you not be done still? See, the original question was for you to integrate in terms of what? X. So your answer needs to be in terms of what? X. In fact, your answer needs to be in this form. Right? Has to be an antiderivative plus c. You go, but how do I get back to the x? How do we get back to x? What is u? See what u is? What was u? 1 minus 2x. So you end up with negative 1/3 what? 1 minus 2x, the square root of what? 1 minus 2x plus what? C. So you have to write your answer in terms of x. This is the antiderivative, ladies and gentlemen, of that original function here. That's the process. So you master the process by doing what? Many problems. And, you know, in some ways you can say, is this all you have to show me today? I say yes. The answer is yes. But you may need to see more and more examples. Okay, you guys okay with that? There's the process. It's really a 4-step process or 5 steps. There it is. That's the antiderivative. Now it's an indefinite integral. You didn't convert anything, you know. You don't have limits. So if they gave you, oh, what's the sine of what? This is another very simple question. Okay, how do you integrate sine 2 pi dx? What's the inside function, just like with chain rule? Do you guys remember? This is exactly like chain rule, but it's for integration. What's the inside? Do you guys know? Isn't it what's in between the parentheses? You're going to let u be what? 2 pi x. That was your first step. What's the second step? Do you guys remember? Du dx is what? What's that derivative? Isn't it 2 pi? And write this as a proportion, right? Equal ratios. So you might say, why do I do that? Because you're going to do what again? You're going to do cross multiplication because you got to solve for dx. So in step 3, you get du times 1 will be 2 pi dx. Divide both sides by 2 pi. And your dx becomes, what is your dx? Du over what? 2 pi. So you see this integral? When I substitute, what does that integral really become? Do you guys know what that becomes? This is going to be what? Sine u, and then du over what? 2 pi. Because don't forget, make sure you have to do what? Do you see this here, this dx? That's what dx is. It's du over what? 2 pi. This is what you really integrate. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, this is a constant. Is that right? So you can pull out your constants, meaning the constant is 1 over 2 pi, and you have to integrate the sine u du. So this is what we now integrate right in here. So do you guys know what the integral of sine is? It's negative cosine, is that right? Exactly. So you guys remember I said, if you know how to get these antiderivatives, you're home free. Put your plus c. And so this is minus what here? Minus 1 over 2 pi cosine u plus c. What don't you want to forget now? Right? What do you guys think? What don't you want to forget? This is now the antiderivative for what? A function of u. You need an antiderivative for a function of x. How do you get that? Right here. 2 pi x. So what do you guys think you plug in? Plug that in. Plug that in where? Wherever you have a what? U. Goes right in here. That's the same U. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Is that easy? You follow that process over and over and over again. Okay, all of these are U sub questions because you really can't do them without it. So where's your inside function? It's right here. It's right here. This is what? This is U. So you can say let U be that what? X over 3, step 1. Step 2, what's du dx? Do you guys know? Isn't that 1/3? And then that's already written as a proportion. All right. Fine. What's step 3? Solve for dx. So step 3, you solve for dx. You get 3 what? Du is 1 dx. And you go, wow, that's already solved for what? It's already done. Right in here. Here you go. I guess let's go to blue, I guess. I don't know. So this is going to be when I substitute now, right? This was U, but what is dx now? That's 3 what? 3 du. This is times du. When I pull out the constant now, it's no longer a fraction. Okay? Because this is what you do. This is what you get when you substitute. That was step 4. Your substitution step, your U sub step. So now just pull out the constant because that's there, and you get secant squared what? U du. Okay, what's the integral of secant squared, or the antiderivative? Tangent. And then your U. U is really what? X over 3. Replace the U with what? X over 3. So ladies and gentlemen, it's 3 tangent X over 3. Easy peasy lemon what? Lemon squeezy? All right. What do you guys think? Is that okay? It isn't too bad, but you got to practice. So the problem comes in if you don't have time to practice. What if they give us something like this here? You have, oh, let's give you guys 2x now. And you have something like this, maybe 4x squared plus 1 to the 1/2 dx. And of course, they won't give you 1/2. They might just give you what? Square root. Okay? And now, when you look at this and you say, well, I'm gonna need maybe an inside function, and I'm gonna have to probably use to write this as a rational power, that square root now. All right? So sometimes they give it to you that way, and then sometimes they don't. But okay. All right, now you say, I have a lot of trouble finding the inside function. And you're right, you may have a lot of trouble finding the inside function. But there is some degree of consistency. What do you mean by that? Do you have a parentheses? So start somewhere. Maybe you say, I'm going to let that be what? I'm going to let that be U. Start somewhere. So like before, if you let U be what? 4x squared plus 1. What's the second step again? Du dx, what's that going to be? Isn't that what? 8x, we'll put it as 8x over 1. Okay? Because when you solve for dx now, what do you guys do? Cross multiply. You got a proportion. So that means du is going to be what? 8x dx. Is that true? So how do you guys begin to solve for dx? The process is still the same. I never change the process. Cross out your 8x. What is dx going to be? Do you guys know? Dx will be du over 8x. Okay, what is step number 4? Do you guys remember what step 4 is? I'm going to bring this down, or copy. Remember that 4th step? You what? Substitute, right? So tell me if you guys agree. I'm going to leave my 2x alone, but I have u to the 1/2. Is that true? Right, when you substitute? Now, what is dx, though? Du over what? 8x. Isn't that here? Du over 8x? What can you guys do now? Cross out the x. 2 and 8. Isn't this now 4? So notice you're going to end up with u to the 1/2 with du over what? 4. You get to pull out your what? Constant. 1/4. You integrate what? U to the 1/2 du. So it's going to reduce and come down to, ladies and gentlemen, that integral. Okay, so you got to use power rule here. All right, so now by power rule, say, is that u to the what? 3/2 over 3/2? Yes, you'll have plus a c. But don't forget, you have the 1/4 now, and write this as 2/3 u to the 3/2 plus that c. And you do want to simplify. So this becomes 1/6. Isn't that u times u to the 1/2? All right, you guys okay with that? What's your u? Final answer, what do you guys get? 1/6. 4x squared plus 1 square root 4x squared plus 1 plus what? C. So your answer has to always go back in terms of the variable x because you're trying to get the antiderivative. Right, what do you guys think? Is that okay? What do you guys think? Is that easy peasy? All right. Told you we want to get this u sub in 1 over (5x minus 1) squared down there, dx. Okay. So you might want to say, can I write this as 5x minus 1 to the what? -2, so that maybe it makes identifying the inside function easier, like it's between the parentheses again. You say, what? Let u be what? 5x minus 1 then. Okay, you guys okay with that one? And then your second step, what's du dx? Differentiate u with respect to x. Isn't that 5 or 5 over 1? And then cross multiplication. Du becomes 5 what? Dx. You're supposed to solve for dx. 5 by 5 and you get what? Dx is du over what? 5. Okay? All right. Now when you substitute, what do you guys get? Okay, this is step number 4 again. Substitute. What do you guys get? U to the minus 2, where dx will be du over 5. Factor out your what? Constant. You get u to the what? Minus 2 du. What do you guys get by power rule? Right? So you get to integrate this now. That's why it was so important for you guys to master those antiderivatives when you did. That's why it was vital. So add 1 to -2, you get what? Yep, u to the -1 over -1. And don't forget there's a 1/5 here. So you say 1/5 u to the -1 over -1. Don't forget to add the constant, and then, you know, use your properties of exponents, right? U to the -1 is 1 over u. But you're not done. Why? U needs to be what? U is 5x minus 1. So your final answer in terms of x will be negative 1 over 5x minus 1 plus c. Okay, you guys okay with that? Okay, what do you guys think u has to be in this one, in this case? Take a guess. What should u be? Whatever's in your parentheses. You guys see something, right? What's in the parentheses? Pi x? So let u be that pi x. Now, differentiate u with respect to x. What do you get? Isn't that just pi? Put it as pi over 1. Cross multiply. So step 3 will be du is pi dx. Okay, divide both sides now by what? By pi. What is your dx? Du over pi. So, okay, does that, you guys okay with that? So now you're going to get the integral here of what? Secant u, tangent u, right? Du over pi, because that's what dx is. So you can factor out the constant of pi now and just integrate secant u tangent u with your du. What's the integral of secant tangent? Just what? Just secant, is that right? So you get 1 over pi secant u plus that c. What do you guys get now with this? What was u again? U was pi x. Over pi secant pi x plus c. Okay, you guys okay with that? Yes. Are they going to give you different u's in the same equation? No. No. Yeah, you don't have two u's. There's only going to be one u. And they could kick it up, and I can see ways where, for example, let me go through this example here, because sometimes people may get a little nervous by this constant here, you know. But yeah, there's not going to be two u's. By now you might identify u being what here, right? By now you might say, is u going to be that x plus 2? Sure. And it'll look a little bit different, but it's the same. So du dx is what? Is 1, okay? But write it as a quotient. And then in this case, notice this, when you cross multiply. This says that du is the same as what? Dx. So when you do your u sub in step 4, you still have 4 over now the square root of u, and now dx is just what? Du, because you found when you solved for dx, you have it right there, just so you guys can see that. You can still pull out your constant 4, and now you have really u to the minus what? 1/2 du, is that right? So find the antiderivative. You have the constant 4 outside. So you're going to have 4 now, u to the 1/2 over 1/2 plus c, which is 4 times 2 u to the 1/2 plus c. You get 8 square root of u plus c. Right? So you can double check there. Okay? And then you go back and you say, well, what was u? Well, here's u. It was x plus 2. So final answer would be 8 x plus 2 plus c. There you go. Now I'm gonna change this up on you guys. And do something a little different here for you guys on this one. Okay, because this is kind of a different thing here. However, what? Let me let you guys think for a few seconds here as I check something online. What do you think U has to be here? Yeah, it will be, but you're saying this looks different, and it does because there's no inside function. You go, oh my God, what happens if there's no inside function? Yeah, there is no inside function, but yes, if you let U be what? Sine in your first step. And in the second step, du dx, what's the derivative of sine? Isn't that cosine? So that when you cross what? Multiply. Because you're solving for, in step 3, you're solving for dx. You get du equal to what? Cosine x dx. You're solving for dx in step 3. So divide both sides by cosine here. And you say, oh, I see what dx is now. What is dx? That's du over what? Over cosine. So, what happens when I substitute? Do you guys know? This is u here. I'm going to bring it all down. Okay, so your substitution says, does that make this u to the third power times cosine times dx? But don't forget, what is your dx? Dx is right here, right? It's du over cosine. Do you guys know what happens with those cosines? They cancel. What do you end up with? Just u to the third what? Du. And this one is easy peasy. You say, what do you mean it's easy peasy? Right? How do you do this one? Isn't this what? 1 to the 4th, u to the 4th plus c? Just by power rule? And so now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to go back and remember that your sine was u, okay? Or u is sine, whatever. So as you write your function in terms of x, 1/4 sine of the 4th power x plus what? C. All right? Okay, and then similarly, they can give you a very similar question, and they can change that. They can say, what if they give you cosine of the 5th power? Or just cosine 4th, I guess, or maybe something even easier. Cosine squared x sine dx. This is just like the last situation, but this time, what do you want u to be? Let u be cosine. And then du dx, what does du dx become? What's the derivative of cosine? And that minus sign. So du is what? Minus sign what? Dx. Divide both sides by negative sign, and you get what? Dx to be negative du over what? Sign. So when you substitute now, right? My u is what again? Isn't u cosine right here? And dx, this is du over what? Negative sign. So notice this too. Doesn't your signs cancel? But don't forget you have what here? That negative 1 constant. So this is going to be u squared du over that negative 1. Is that true? Because you have that negative 1 there, that constant. So just pull out the negative 1, which really means you got negative u squared du, which will give you negative what? 1/3 u cubed plus c. But then don't forget, you already know what u is. U was what? That u is cosine. So, final answer. Negative 1/3, your u will be cosine cubed of x plus what? C. Okay. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think 5.5 does have, in fact, u sub. I'll double check because I'm looking at your homework here, and your homework is still due when? Monday. But I'll double check section 5.5 and see if I modify it. Okay, because I have to double check that. I don't have your book. I don't have the book in front of me. It's in my office. And so, anyway, if you want to see additional what? Examples. You got the old school video done nine years ago. I came in on a what? Saturday 9 years ago, and I did 2.5 hours of u sub. And then you say, "Wow, that was in the old days." And that, look at that. I remember the building. The building's not even up anymore. That board was on a whiteboard. And then now you have the what? The iPad version. Right, we're going to go over some of these examples. And I thought you can see the time on that. I have another 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's like 6 hours of u sub examples. And some of you guys are already there. You say, "I understand how to do everything right now." So you guys are there. Some of you guys might have to look at a few more examples. You know, and so you may want to toss that around over dinner. You look at a few more examples, and then, next week, chapter 6 is pretty simple if you know how to do, antiderivatives and even u sub. It's just very simple. If you can take a difference of functions, say yes. Can you multiply a function by a constant? Say yes. And then you just focus on the concept, really, the idea. Anyway, it can be done. So there it is. All right. So we'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed u sub.